school, in which we'll be featuring on chapter 28, Holy Instruction from the Prophet, Master and Servant. And we also want to call your attention to a continuation of the Moorish American prayer. We handed out a lesson over the email to the Moors dealing with the prayer, and also the same lesson can be found in the book Exhuman of a Nation, the chapter of religious controversy. And in that chapter of religious controversy, Noble Dwali, the Exhuman of a Nation, you will also find excerpts in dealing with the Moorish American prayer, compared with the Al-Fatiha, and also we also had an extension of the lesson. We also have an extension of the lesson. It's on page 612, an extension of the lesson in the book Noble Dwali, and dealing with the ADEPT prayer, saying the Moorish American prayer on the ADEPT level. We also have a history of dealing with prostration, and we will deal with that as an extension of the lesson on the Moorish American prayer. This is our prayer, so it would behoove everyone, all Moors, to know as much about your prayer as possible. As you elevate, so will your prayer. Like the prophet, now we're going to grow in your pocket, so will your prayer grow in your heart. The closer you become with your prayer, the closer you become with Allah as one. And we'll go into that momentarily. But right now, as your host instructor for the evening, we want to deal with the Holy Instruction from the Prophet, Master and Servant. And this chapter is found in the Holy Instruction from the Prophet within your Quran. And this chapter 28, is a chapter that reminds us, when you're looking at the word master, it covers a lot of territory. So let's start with the very top, okay? When you speak about master, then let's start at the top. Let's deal with the great God. Let's deal with Allah, okay? Let's deal with those things which you receive all your strength, all your powers from spirit man. Let's go back to chapter 1 when you want to deal with the master, okay? Let's deal with the portion where we receive our strength, okay? And when you look at it from that level, then you can come down to a more manifest level, all right? You can deal with the angels, and then you can also deal with the prophets, okay? This is how you come down the ladder of those who are masters. You speak about those who are either owners, highly skilled. You're talking about the original templates, the one that all other pattern themselves after. When you speak about the master dye or the master designer, okay? In this case, we want to speak about the creator, the great God Allah himself, all right? So as you go down the line, then you can get to man himself, which is in different positions of mastership, okay? And as you do that, then you find it takes on other connotations, all right? You begin to come into the area where you're talking about those who are skilled, or with those who are ownership, or in ownership of certain areas or businesses. It could be properties for that matter. But when you deal with master, you speak about someone that has a complete amount of responsibility, okay? If you want to look at the difference between a master and a servant, you can look at the difference between a homeowner and a renter. They both can live in houses, but the thing about it is only one of them has responsibility, okay? So when you look at the word servant, then here again, you're speaking about a royal lesson. So when you look at servant, then you have to go with the term Muslim, or if you want to break it down, let's go to the very source of the very first servant, which is spirit man, okay? This is the very highest source of a servant that you're going to find. And we will have a breakdown of this special chapter that will be coming out over the email, well, inshallah, by in the morning, okay? So they want to be ready by Wednesday's class as a continuation for this special chapter. But we want to lay the foundation right now for how important it is that we acknowledge those who are in superior command of us, namely Allah and the Prophet. Sometimes we get these commands a little mixed up because we just fresh out of slavery. So we used to having people make us do things. A slave was made to do so. But you find that there's a world of difference between a servant and a slave. Okay? A slave is one who is made to do. It doesn't matter. He doesn't have a choice in the matter. Okay? And as a result of being a slave, he's also property. Okay? It doesn't mean that slavery is righteous. It doesn't mean that slavery is legal. It doesn't mean that slavery is the right thing to do. Quite the contrary. If you want to find out what the whole system is about, it all began with master and servant, great God Allah and spirit man. When man took on a form, when spirit took on the form of man, this is when the servant came into play. Okay? And as a result of the fall, he was planted in a soil that he might himself grow apace. The only soil that the spirit could grow in the man's form was on the soil of soul, where you had thinking, reason, willing action, and these kind of things, even before he took on the form of a body. Okay? This too was a part of the fall, because man, when he fell head first. Okay? So it wasn't so much as what the body did to him, because it's not in the power of flesh to think or bones to reason. So man fell in his head. It was fell by what he was thinking. Okay? This is where the fall came to. So as a result of that, in getting back from the fall, which we would call it the rise or the resurrection, if you will, then he must come back to the spirit source of which he fell. Okay? And this is where you find the servants, because you're going to find obedience. A servant is one who is able to have choices, but his choices is to serve. Okay? It's very, very important that you understand the difference between a slave and a servant. I am not going to be no servant, because they're used to working down at the Hilton and somebody, or in the Sinai Hospital, or somewhere, or maybe in a restaurant, or whatever the case may be, and somebody says, well, you better do this, you better do that, That's an employee. Okay? And we understand about being employees. There's nothing wrong with that, all right? Because employees, they get paid just like servants do. There's always a pay to being a servant, all right? The thing about it is that on this level, you want to be contingent. But what kind of pay does a servant receive when Allah is the husbandman? When Allah is the great God? What kind of pay can you receive? Well, if you're really blessed, and we'll put that word out there again, all right? If you're really blessed, then the reward, the pay that you receive is that you get back to the spirit plane and be free again as God, okay? So in order to do that, you must be subservient. You must learn the art of obedience in order to get back into your true self as God. And this is what Moorish science is all about. Make no mistake about it, all right? Moorish science is having a good knowledge of history so you can learn what not to do. You remember what not to do. Well, no, I don't want to do that no more. That's a part of the fall, okay? That one there is a negative, or that one there is a part of, no, I don't want to do that. So that's what the memory is. That's why a man, of all the creatures, he does not, he will not give it a delete system. He can't forget. I mean, he can't. You just don't have it, all right? You don't have the power to forget. In fact, if you try forgetting something, the more you're going to remember it, okay? So in dealing with this subject matter, master and servant, when you look at master, think first about Allah, and then you start breaking it down from there to angels and prophets, and then you deal with the highly skilled men. That's about it. When it comes to the highly skilled men, it could be those officials in your government, okay? When you're talking about highly skilled. Here in the West, they call them politicians, okay? But so sometimes those politicians may be a congressman, all right? It may be a director. It could be president, all right? But all of these officials will come status of master. master is one who not only holds things in place, but it also is the head of a group of entities or living servants or subjects. Okay? And this is something that you want to bear in mind. Like I said, we're going to give this breakdown of this special chapter a little later on in the week or tomorrow so that you'll have it ready by Wednesday's class. Okay? So, and I would heavily recommend that everyone, hopefully, we'll send out to everybody who we have on the email list. We put it like that, okay? Now, when it comes down to servant, again, let's start at the top. A servant is not a bad thing to be. It is, however, a truthful thing to be. Being a servant, recognizing the fact that you are a servant. Now, let me give you the key to being a good servant, okay? A good servant is one who recognizes his status. This is a servant. A servant is one who recognizes his status, his existence, his being. All right? In other words, even a wise man considers his imperfections. All right? Any servant worth his salt is going to realize, so wait a minute. Yeah, Allah made me. The Spirit of God is in me. I'm right, and I cannot die. I can't be destroyed. But the truth of the matter is, right now, I'm in this human body. I still got this human form I got to deal with, which means I've got to deal with the bonds of society. Dealing with the bonds of society, you got to deal with families, governments, nations. You got to breathe the air. You got to drink the water. You got to eat the food. All this right here is all a part of it, okay? And you have to go through this kind of a system in order for you to get back to your proper status, okay, of divinity. So having a free national name, we got a little more extra work to do on us than other nations, because other nations have already acquired the status, okay? You don't have to go through much to convince the people of Germany who Germans are. You don't have to go through a big degree with the people of China exactly who the Chinese people are, okay? But we have got to go through a degree here convincing our people who the Moorish Americans are, okay? So with this in mind, we have to climb this ladder on our way back. And you're going to find that tonight, as we go into the prayer, to the ADEPT portion of the prayer, you're going to find that climbing that three-step ladder is going to come into play again. All right? So we've got to acquire the two steps of the round that was taken from us during the time of slavery, and that is the nationality and the divine creed. We must replace those two to get back and attach ourselves back to the human family of nations. This is the purpose for the Moorish American National Government, so that we can represent our people, all 60 million, to let the world know we're back. There is no more slavery. Until this is done, slavery still exists. Okay, Noble Drew Ali called it mental slavery. That's what you have now. All right? But we're going to put it on the table of commerce. I said it, commerce, okay, which means nothing but business, nothing personal, purely business. And until such time as you can hardly qualify as a servant as long as you are really being used as commerce, okay? So that means you have got to exercise your thinking capacity in order to get out of the negative fall of man for being treated like commerce, okay? Now, to show you how serious the commerce level is, and again we're talking about coming up out of the fallen state, becoming a conscious servant in order to get back to your to spirit level, okay? So in order to deal with that, you realize that when it comes down to the commerce, there have been nations and governments set aside the protocol and the respected laws and constitution to say, well, we're not going to let the Moors rise. We're not going to let the Moors be a people. Okay? You've got governments that have taken oath, an organization that's taken oath and set aside to stop us, the Moors, from ever becoming a nation of people again. Okay? And the reason why they do not want the Moors to become a nation of people is because of this special chapter right here. Okay? This is why it's so important for the Moors to pay attention to the lesson, the holy instruction that our prophet has brought to us. Now, this way, what would happen when you look around and you find out that who you thought was property is no longer property, but they're not in their proper status. So what do you have? You've got, where you used to have slaves, you've now got gods. And you cannot enslave a god. Okay? Where you used to have convicts, you've now got free people. Okay? You can't imprison a free person. Okay? So as you move up the ladder, now you're going to find out that what you really got to deal with now is God walking around in human form. That's not a very pleasant thought for a lot of people, a lot of nations to think about when they know that they have purposely buried you as a people, knowing that you was God light on the planet. Okay? So this is what happens when you come back. But now every nation on earth is seeking what it is that we have. Okay? They're seeking that peace. They need an area for the lion and the lamb to be able to lay down together, and neither will be harmed. Okay? They need that. The nation of the earth today is at war with each other beyond suspicion, and they don't know no other way to deal with it. They don't know no other way to bring about peace except at the barrel of a gun. All right? But this the chapter here, Holy Instruction, teaches us, it lets us know exactly there is another way. Okay? So when you look at ayat 1, it says, we pine not, O man, at the state of servitude. It is an appointment by Allah. That lets you know right there there's something right about this. Anytime Allah has judgmented it to the point that he appointed it to you. Okay? Now when they say if you pine not, I mean, stop crying, complaining all the time. You know, I've seen it where one of the things we find out work around a hospital setting and restaurants and a few other public places, people will work, but they complain all day. While they work, they steady complaining, right? And that's true around the corporate world too, okay? But they're steady working and complaining all day, all right? Complaining, but don't own a job, don't own the business, but they're complaining, all right? Well, the Prophet let you know here, stop the jaw jacking, stop complaining, stop crying, all right? And recognize the status where he's, old man, the first time you see him like this is dealing with old man, you're talking about the spirit, all right? When you see the word old like that, it's calling on the highest plane of spirit life. So what it's asking you to recognize is the spirit that's in the man, the God that's in the man. So it says, look, stop crying, God. What's wrong with you? All right? Because you're in the state, a human state, you got the human body, all right? You got to deal with society. You got to stop crying. Accept it for what it is. Why? Because it was an appointment by Allah. If you don't believe it's an appointment by Allah, go back to chapter 1. Look at chapter 11, and you find out it's all a part of the fall. Okay? You have a soul. That right there was appointed to you. It was Allah that gave you, that put you in a plane of soul where that you can grow a pace. And it do mean grow. Okay? But the only way that you can grow, being a thinking thing, you must grow from the head inward. All right? This is where you get the strength from. Because, well, we'll go into that in the chapter. But we want to pay close attention to this special chapter more, because it is going to let you know exactly how you get back to the spirit life, how you get back at the responsibility chosen people. Ain't no such animal. Okay? That is appointment. We can do an appointment, but the law appointed it to everybody. All right? The fall is applicable to everybody. All right? So the thing about it is, the same God that made you is the same way you're going to have to get back to the source of which you fell. So we're going to go into that with the prayer in just a minute, but I just want to point out this is special ayat. We haven't even well, let me just read the whole ayat, okay? Fear not, O man, the state of servitude is an appointment of Allah and has many advantages. It removes thee from the cares and solicitudes in life, okay? And what that means is the fact that when you look at the Moors, what are some of the cares that you have to be concerned in if you're a master, all right? What about the freedom? What about independence? What about nationhood? Self-consciousness? All right? These are responsible areas, okay, that we as a people have got to get into, all right? Everyone else has got theirs, that we've got to get ours, okay? But see, when you look around and find out that as a servant, you really don't have to worry too much about it. This is for your leaders. Your leaders are worried about it, because he's the one that has the cares on him, okay? What it is, though, but the leader, there's no such thing as a leader without followers. There's no such thing as a chief unless you got a tribe behind you, okay? You can't have a nation without a government. So in other words, your leadership or your mastership is contingent upon the servants, all right? So if you don't recognize how important your freedom is as a nation of people, you won't recognize your own government. Subsequently, if you don't recognize the government, you won't recognize the nation, and, well, you're right back to where you was again. What is that word? Commerce, property, okay? Someone else is going to use you up like a roll of shaman, okay? That's what it boils down to. So this right here is just ayat 1, and I want to encourage everyone, please study this chapter. We're going to get the email out to you ASAP, okay? And go more in depth and let you know exactly how to go into the internucleus, if you will, into the ADEPT version. It's a special chapter because it's a blessing, Moors, okay, to be able to say, now we can breathe again. Okay, now you can accept what belongs to us. It's a blessing just knowing that you got your own flag. It's a blessing just knowing that, well, the Prophet speaks about fidelity, okay, and as one of the greatest attributes as a servant can have. And when you talk about that fidelity, you talk about the loyalty, the faithfulness, okay, dependability. Can Allah depend on you? Okay, have you had enough of slavery? Have you had enough of people using you up, locking up your women and children, doing what they want to do, where you ain't even got no marriage laws, they ain't got no protection? And what about the trustworthiness? Can your government depend on you? Can you be trusted? Okay. What about your commitment, your conformity to the law? You willing to bow down and say, humble yourself to it? And then it speaks about later on in the chapter, it speaks about virtues. These are touchy areas where we've got to get accustomed to these high levels of words and laws and things that we must comply ourselves to. So when you talk about virtue, you talk about honesty, you talk about having assets and value. How valuable are you? How valuable are you to your family, to your community, to your neighborhood, to your government? Okay? Now, being in the organization thing, does not afford you the luxury, or should I say, the responsibility that we just spoke about. Because in an organization, you can hide it. It's like being in an alley. You can run around and duck and hide. You really don't have to take it, okay? But when you are part of a government, part of a nation of people, when you're a citizen, then you take on this responsibility because you know that you're worth something. You know that you have that you're beneficial to something, all right? What you put into your government is what you get back from your government. All this is in this chapter, too. We're going to definitely go into this Wednesday night. So I want to encourage everyone to please tune into our chapter Wednesday night. Meanwhile, let's on to our next subject, Moors, and that is dealing with the second part of the Moorish American prayer. Okay? And you'll find this breakdown in the book Noble Dwali, the Exuberant of a Nation, beginning on page 428, okay? And in there you'll find that there's a breakdown in dealing with the Falaha, and line for line dealing with the Moorish American prayer is also line for line. There's 7 lines each in each one. And they mean basically the same thing. The only difference between the Moorish American prayer and the Falaha is that the Moorish American prayer is more descriptive than the Falaha. But they mean the same thing, okay? Show us the straight way. When you speak about little things, like those who fortune is not wrath, and those who go not astray. Well, Noble Dwali, the Holy Prophet, okay? That's one who going there because he was what? He was an avatar. He was a perfect being, all right? He didn't go astray. He came straight out of Egypt and brought us everything it took to save us as a nation of people. He showed us the straight way to have our own government. He showed us the straight way to be in our own nation, or the straight to have our own free national name. Okay? He didn't waver. He didn't bend. He didn't get all out of shape. He took care of his business. Okay? And this is why it is that we love our Prophet Noble Dwali, who in the manifesto has been 125 years old as of yesterday. Okay? So this is a special prayer. We want to go into an extension of the prayer, in which we handed out on the email, and it's called the Moorish American ADEPT prayer. Now what we're going to do, for those who is online, it's only going to take a few minutes, but we're going to ask the Grand Actor Secretary to read the portion that's dealing with the Moorish American ADEPT prayer, and then we'll continue with the class, and then we'll open for questions and comments, okay? For those of you who has been through your ADEPT chambers and you know the word and all this other kind, I would suggest that you hang on to your phone, okay? As we go into the real ADEPT chamber, okay? And we're going to go into the Moorish American prayer, the ADEPT prayer, all right? So if she come before you, please give her your undivided attention. Psalm?
The Psalm Moors. The Moorish American ADEPT prayer. First, the history and warnings of prostration. The forefathers of Moorish, known as the ancient Moabites, are the true and divine founders of the world's first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 48, ayat 6. It must be remembered, the very word man means thinker. Of all creatures, man is the only one that grows outward from the roots in his head. Ages before the advent of Prophet Muhammad, the ancient Comethnians of the Eden were the first people to prostrate in prayer. Prostration became the original sign of humbleness, respect, and subservience from man towards his Creator. Bowing down to earth with knees, hand, and head was a symbol of his premeditated return of ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Prostration is man's way to part the flesh while he journeys inwardly to meet the great God. Without the hindrances of the body, all that is left is for man to return to his natural and divine status. Prayer leads man away from the trappings of his lower self and sustains him on the journey inward to his lofty estate. Through prayer, receive unseen powers from his Father God as the child receives nourishment from the breast of one mother. Prostration brings a higher degree in the observance of the National Moorish American prayer. From this horizontal position, there is a revelation of understanding and communicative power that rests dormant in every human. just as adulthood waits in every child. The will of man and his purity of heart are the keys used to perform the ADEPT prayer. These keys unlock man's straight way of natural passage from civilization to divinity. In the higher science, in African-based nations, the root to the center or heart of man is called the third eye or jhana. See chapter 15, the third eye. Often referred to as the sixth chakra, the jhana is the conscious entrance into the heart where things are made of thought. Meditation is the most secure passageway into this paradise. The ADEPT is made during the resurrection of the will of man and the will of Allah becoming a fact. Meditation during prostration is conscious fulfillment of this divine bond between man and himself as God. Issa is the name of the first physical man before the fall when he was more God than human. The true transliteration of Issa is the great God. Issa is the name handed down to every major prophet from Adam to Ali. This is the holy name given to the son born to Mary and Joseph and can be found throughout the Holy Quran. In this stage, he went about the creative and governing business of God. But as Issa began to spend more time in human form and conquering the weaker manifestations until he dumbed down and became Adam. Now, being a dam is not a good thing to be. But because Adam remembered to pray is how he became the first prophet. The fall of man is when he lost consciousness of himself as God. Man fell because his will to think became too sluggish. This is when the survival of the fittest became a way of life, and he developed a carnal nature made of false sensations and gratifications. The holy name of Issa has been weakened in the West with additional attributes, e.g., Isa Allah-il and Isa el-Ali. The problem here is the attributes El and Allah and Ali are already perfectly incorporated in the holy name Issa. This only goes to show finite minds cannot comprehend those things infinite. And this is why anyone can possess the name, but it can only be actively used by those with pure hearts. It cannot be used by those who are slaves to sin. Which direction do we face to pray? Be advised, due to the advent of the last avatar, Noble Drew Ali, we and the world are in a new era of time now. This means another age has passed, and the consciousness of humans has reached another level towards being himself, the light. It is time to formulate the code of law, religious postulates, and plans of rule best suited for this age. The days when men look to serve a law outside of the self in places, objects, forms, and times no longer satisfy their search for truth. There is no way to Allah from any idol shrine. The Allah I speak about is everywhere. He cannot be compassed with walls, nor hedged about with bounds of any kind. Moorish Holy Quran 10 through 12. As an example, today there are more than 1.5 billion Muslims praying toward a rock in the east 5 times a day does not negate to reality only the lost needs direction. The directions of north, east, south, and west were devised by man when he lost his way as God. The universal great God is omnipotent and omnipresent, and therefore never lost. Muslims are those who submit their will to Allah, and Muslims are the will of Allah. Muslims do not pray according to the dictates of times, directions, days, rituals, and forms. The Moors must also remember their prophet taught them the answer to the first question, who made you? The answer is Allah, the great God. This is to say, no matter where the holy fruit falls, it still is from the same divine tree. So, which way do we pray? Inwardly. What time do Muslims pray? Muslims are spirits and created by Allah. They do not follow time because all times are illusions of finite duration and cannot dictate the courses of man. Again, throughout his holy instructions, the Moorish American-born prophet taught his nationals, why need we wait? Meaning, there is no set time, finite duration, to meet Allah. ADEPT prayer, the ritual. Prostrating while reciting the Moorish American prayer can be very effective when sent by the breath. Americans are hereby warned. The performances of prostrations while in enemy territory are strictly forbidden in the world of Islam. Surah 4, ayats 102 through 104. To prostrate in prayer, knowing the population of the USA is 99.9% anti-Islamic, is unforgivable. This is why Drali taught the Moorish to pray standing on their feet with their eyes open. They will only prostrate in a venue where there is no apparent danger, nor are they subject to being overtaken while they are lost in prayer. For those who may have short memories, please research the events of 1492, Granada, Spain. After being attacked while prostrating during Juma services, only those Moorish Muslims who survived the massacre were used to begin the new West African slave trade. 520 years later, the descendants of these Moors compiled a denationalized population of Negroes, blacks, and coloreds sold to the United States. The warning about prostration should be taken in full effect because in 1492, those Moors knew full well Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand were the Christian rulers of Europe with allegiances with the Turks and Arabs. Rewards of the prostrated ADEPT prayer. It is the holy breath which empowers every word of this prayer. Before citing each line of words, one must inhale, deeply inhale. Hold that breath for about 7 to 9 seconds, then exhale the breath with the words of that special line. The holy breath is what elevates the prayer into the infinite domain. Find a still, uninterrupted area where you can go into silence for self-examination. To sit as close to the ground floor as possible and meditate on the intent of the Holy Unity in search for guidance. During meditation, one must master all external distractions normally responded by the carnal senses. Once this thought control is at the level of obedience, the prostration can begin. From the kneeling position, with hands in front of the face, place the thumbs and forefingers touch to touch, forming a pyramid. See the diagram at the top. Place the open palm pyramid on the floor, followed by the forehead, between the eyebrows, and to the center, and direct the will inwardly to the deific will. Remember, it is the holy breath which empowers every word of this prayer. Before citing each line of words, one must inhale deeply, hold that breath for about 7 to 9 seconds, then exhale the breath with the words of that special line. The holy breath is what elevates the prayer into the infinite domain. You were summoning the great will during meditation. Now, using she, the holy breath, say this prayer as instructed. Upon success, tested by your sincerity and purity of heart, you have made a Hajj, pilgrimage, into third heaven. Third heaven is the only true ADEPT chamber. Belief is first heaven. Faith is second heaven. And you yourself now in deific life is an ADEPT. The Moorish inherited these divine rites of passage from the ancient fathers through Allah's last prophet. true name of faithful, Muslim, as a reward for their years in my office. Muslim and ADEPT are other names for God. The ADEPT prayer is perfected man's journey into the spirit self and must be traveled alone. Notice the absence of any middleman, priest, and grand hoodwinkers. Now, welcome home, Muslims. Humbly submitted, your brother in the law, Dr. Elihu N. Pleasant Bay, Grand National Chairman, Swift Angel number 1. Islam.
Islam, well, thank you, Sister Secretary. All right, now, what we're doing here is to eliminate a lot of clutter to stop the Moors from being taken advantage of, being put to sleep. The journey towards being an adept, the journey towards being a Muslim, the journey towards obtaining the name of faithful is completely up to you. Make no mistake about it. Look at all the lessons we have, especially those in the Quran. The Sacred Quran is brought by Noble Ali, and you'll find exactly everything you do, you must go into the self. The very first lesson, as soon as you open up the Quran, is man, know thyself. This was the preeminent principle throughout all of Kemet, from the very fall of man. Man, know thyself. Okay? The Moorish American prayer, when properly recited, if you will, is a man's journey consciously to inwardly into the self, recognizing himself and Allah as one. And if you notice that in a portion of this we were speaking about third heaven, but Noble Ali speaks about this in the questionnaire. He speaks about the AC of the MST of a third heaven. A lot of times the Moors will eliminate the part about the third heaven and just deal with the ADEPT chamber, assume that the AC of the MST of A is the ADEPT of the Moorish Systems of America. Okay? Well, in part that's true. However, that too does not take you there. If you really want to go all the way into third heaven, then you must be able to climb the ladder that will take you there. The ladder has 3 steps. Belief is the first step. This is what man thinks, but he must think. This is what man thinks perhaps is true. The second heaven is the second round. This is what man knows. Again, before you can know a thing, you must think it into existence. And the knowledge between what you think perhaps is and what you know is the reality that that is you. Because you are the only truth that there is. Okay? Everything else is an illusion, no matter what it is. It could be the stars, it could be the earth, it could be the water that you drink, the air that you breathe. It's all just an illusion. It means nothing to the spirit. Okay? And then the third heaven, of course, is when you and Allah, using your will to reach the infinite will of Allah, becomes one. This is how, because a lot of more ask me about, well, when we going to have ADEPT lesson? Okay, this is it. Okay? If you really want the ADEPT lesson, then you must go this journey yourself. Read all the lessons that you have. When the 7 sages convene in Egypt and throughout Kemet, Alexandria, Heliopolis, everywhere, it's the same thing. You must do it yourself. Now, we as your instructors, we can help you, guide you, but we can't go there with you. Don't let no grand hoobah fool you into thinking that they can hoodwink you and put a blindfold on you and kiss you on the top of your head and put a branding iron on your chest or something and grease you up or something like that, and then you're going to be at it. That's not how it's done. Okay? This right here is a Masonic foolishness that came out of the Lord, where they didn't know nothing else to do from apprenticeship to fellowship to master. They didn't know. But at the very beginning of the Lord, where they become a master, is where of children began. Okay? That is to say, when you ask a Moorish child who made you, that's the first thing that a Moorish child find out, but the last thing a Mason learn. Okay? So in so doing, when it comes down to becoming an adept, which is another word for God, then you must be able to go into the consciousness of the self as God. And believe me, once you do that and you're successful at it, the very first time, it don't have to be a long journey, all right? But once you acquire that one time, and you can do it almost at will, okay? You do it a lot of times at nighttime when you lay the body down, you call it dreaming. You lay the body down and you take off and go wherever you want to go. You go into the past, you go into the future, you go beyond the sun, throughout the universe, you go in trees and animals, you go to visit people that's been long since dead, and so you thought they were dead anyway. But wherever you want to go, you go visit them, okay? And you come on back, get back in your human car, crank it up, and go wash it, go to the bathroom and wash it up, okay? Because that's all it is, just a vehicle. The human body is just a vehicle you use to get around on this plane. If you can park it on the subway, on the bus, on the train, in the car, and you still going somewhere else. You done left the thing. Okay? Which lets you know it's not in the power of flesh, or flesh, or bones to reason. Okay? So this prayer is at the limit. The reason why I'm doing it this way, I'm giving it to the Moors, is so that you would not be had again, or held back again. Like I said, I'm the last of the ADEPT, and I can afford to give it to you. The reason why, because you don't. This is a new era time now, Dwelly. So you be coming into your own about this time, and you will never be able to say the present babe was one of the ones that held you back. No. And the reason why I can give you the holy word, I can give you the word name of the first physical man that was shared by all the prophets. Okay, all the way from Adam to Ali. All right. The same word was saved by all of them, okay? It's because in order, and let me show you how it worked. In the questionnaire, Dwelly speaks about the angels that was guarding the holy city. Speaks about those when you was cast out of the holy city. Then there was two angels that was placed at the gate, what they call flaming swords. All right? In other words, so from the conscience of the higher self, then there was a realm that you had to go back through in order to get back to your higher self as God. Okay? You just couldn't do it. You had to get rid of the negative. That's your flaming sword. That's why Dwelly said, I come just before the fire, all right? And when the fire comes, I will be your water. So in order to put out the flames of the sword, you must have the water. This is the water. Your water is called truth. Okay? So what you do, you're able to go back into the conscience of the self by overpowering the negative, the illusions of the world, like time, places, events, distances, and manifest. You don't get caught up into that because it has nothing to do with your existence. You're going to live anyway. Okay? So whenever you want to go into the conscience of the self, you must get rid of the illusions of the senses. To say that you normally would hear, what was that? What? Okay, you got to get rid of the illusion of the taste bud or the sense of the smell. Those five senses, you know which ones I'm talking about, okay? Touch, taste, hear, smell, whatever, okay? Master those, get right on through them. And then you're able to go into the conscience of the self. Or get rid of the illusion. It's hard to get rid of the illusion, and you got the taste of a tasty cake in your mind. Okay? You're over there, somebody else's garden pulling their way. I don't like her because she had on a red dress. Okay? You can't go into the conscience of the self to the God. In other words, you can't use the word. You can't exercise the prayer and be on the manifest level at the same time. It don't work. But why? Because you're going to get burnt up by the swords. Okay? Because they're there at the gate of your agenda, at the gate of your interest to the heart of man, the gates is right there. You can put on all the turban and feathers in the world. It ain't going to make a dime worth of difference. You're still going to be out there goony boom. Nothing, no good. Okay? So it's not up to Pleasant Bay to give it to hold the word from you. It's up to you to use it. The devil can do mighty things. Okay? But the truth about the matter is, only the pure in heart can exercise or see the king. Okay? Only the pure in heart. That's why the prophet gave you the key. If you look at Acts 7, that's why I read Acts 7, all right? He gave you the key. All Moorish Americans must keep their heart and their mind. You must use your mind, which is the actions of the soul. You must use your mind in order to get into the kingdom. But you can't get there if the mind is dirty. Okay? So this is the reason why I put the ADEPT. Now let me deal with the prostration about the prayer. Okay? No, we do not prostrate. We ain't about to do no prostrate. Okay? In fact, you don't have to prostrate, not with this prayer. All right? You can get to the closest of yourself. You don't have to prostrate at all. All right? The reason why we don't prostrate is because prostration is forbidden for a Muslim to prostrate anytime they're in enemy territory. The last time the Moors broke this law, and it's in the Quran too, the Holy Quran of Mecca and Surah. Those of us who was able to get up and walk up, we had shackles and chains of, and they were talking, oh, we on a slave ship. Okay? That's why we end up here being Negro, black, and colored, because we were prostrating where we weren't supposed to. We knew there was Christians in Europe, but no, we gonna bow down anyhow. Oh, okay. Knowing we've been over there having fun and created two new nations of people. Okay? All right, so we want to bear in mind that the prayer is to be taken with sincerity of heart. The prayer is to be taken with love in your heart. It's going to distinguish you from fallen humanity into your God self. Okay? With this right here, you will obtain the name of faithful. You do not have to belong to an organization. You do not have to attend a mosque, a synagogue. You ain't got to go to an ashram. You don't need no gurus and priests and grand chiefs and nothing. Imams, none of that. Okay? When you go to your prayer, then read your Quran. When the will of man and the will of Allah become one, then the resurrection is a fact. In other words, you become an adept. Okay? That's your true adept. Going through the so-called chambers and going to the lodge does not make you an adept. Someone hoodwinking you, ride some goat, will not make you an adept, okay? It just don't work that way, all right? We're talking about returning to your pure state as God. So that's my little lesson for tonight. And I'll now open up the class. For those who have questions, hold on.